three. Dagger!
Hello, 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 and welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc, where we bring you all things NBA basketball all the time. I'm Montana, joined as always by my co-host David. Before we get into some exciting playoff basketball, as well as other things, David, how you doing, bro? We took a week off, a busy time, but how you doing, man? You ready to talk some basketball today?
I'm pretty good. I'm ready to get into it. It's been, obviously, if you did not know, again, this is graduation week for me, so there, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going. My Lakers exited. It was sad. I had to mourn them out. So that was one of my reasons for taking the week off. But yeah, I'm good. I'm ready to go. It's round two. So many matchups have already looks to be decided already. But let's see. So let's jump right into the shower.
Did you say graduation week?
Graduation week,
Oh,
yes, sir.
if you're in the
Yes,
chat, let's clap it up for David. Congratulations, bro.
sir.
That's
Thank
awesome,
you.
man.
Thank you all so
Congratulations.
much.
That's
Thank you all
big.
so-
That's what I'm talking about, bro. Well, speaking of NBA basketball, like we said, it's round two of the playoffs. Unfortunately, some teams that we either said we thought we were going to see or we wanted to see are not in this round. But nevertheless, it is a very exciting round of basketball. Before we get into the actual round two basketball, we're going to go into good, bad, and ugly, which honestly, this really has to do with round two for the most part. For my good, I've got to go with Tyrese Halliburton being voted the most overrated player and then hitting multiple game winners. And now he's not dropping 50 points a game, 40 points a game. He's not having insane 30 plus point averages, but what he does on the court makes all the difference for that team. And he is the most clutch player that they have had since Paul George. In my personal opinion, I'm going to say it right now. I think that's the most clutch pacer since Paul George. I mean, he's got people acting crazy and throwing towels in Giannis's face. Granted, that's his dad. And so I think that a lot of parents would possibly lose their head in a moment like that. But he's definitely playing the type of basketball that if I was his dad, I'd be freaking out like that too, because he is honestly breathing life into that Pacers team. And I was wrong once again. I think if anything, one of us has a lot of logic and the other one does not, and I think we can guess which is which. I really thought the Bucks, which again, granted, this was before Dame went back. This was before a few things. I thought the Bucks had it in them. I thought the Bucks were going to do it, but the Pacers not only beat the Bucks, but they've also so far looked like a team that could very well sweep who they're playing now, if not make it a 5-game series. So I was wrong about the Pacers. I was wrong about the Pacers, which we're going to talk about them and their game 3 and if we think they can close it out against the Cavs in a little bit. But my good has to be Tyrese Halliburton because being voted most overrated and then doing what he's been doing in the playoffs, it's good for the NBA too. So that's got to be my good and a little chance to admit that I'm wrong. David, what are we thinking about for good this week?
Oh my God. Oh my days. Let me start by saying, and to anyone that thought Indiana would not beat the Bucks, how wrong you are. You all know yourselves. Um, thank you all so much. But my good has to be, and I'm going to start with this: go New York, go New York, go New York, go New York, go. Um, Being 2-0 up against the Boston Celtics, stealing 2 games away from home is crazy. That is mental. Okay, on one hand, we have to give New York credit for coming back down 20 and shout out Michael Bridges for the 2 game defensive game winning plays he made. Shout out to Michael Bridges because he's just been on point. Um, but also, okay, and I probably shouldn't say this because obviously we're saying good, but like, why are you down 20 in the first place? Why are you down 20 in the first place? But that's a whole nother story for now. But shout out to New York, back-to-back wins on the Boston floor. The Boston last year lost 2 games in the whole of the playoffs, if I remember correctly, in their route or 3 games or so. I might be blanking, but this year they've already lost 3, and there's a possibility that they might, if they don't take care of business, this might be a 4-game series because we know what happens in Madison Square Garden. So shout out, you're going.
Hey, it's another team I was wrong about. I didn't think New York was going to do as good as they've done, honestly. So I can sit here and say that's another team I was wrong about. There was a time when the Pistons looked like they could maybe do it, but then New York took care of business, and they've been taking care of business since. So
Yeah.
moving on to bad, it's got to be Curry going down with an injury when the Warriors need him most. Not only do they need it most, I would say this is their most legitimate shot at a title yet since they won their last one. I think this is, especially with the Lakers being out. Obviously, you still have OKC or the Nuggets, but with a team like the Lakers being out, yeah, they lost. They got beaten 5. So were they as good of a playoff team as we had hoped? No. But still, if that is a team standing in your way, the last time the Lakers played the Warriors in the playoffs, we know what happened. So all I'm saying is I do think their path was a little bit easier or a little bit more clear with the Lakers being out and then Curry goes down. But they still won the game. I mean, Curry only played 13 minutes and that Warriors team rallied. So I don't think they're out. They're down, but they're not out. We're going to talk about Warriors versus T-Wolves in a little bit, but my bad still has to be Curry going down because, again, this is their best championship shot since their last one. So, and I think this team is better. I don't know if I've said that before, but I think this team honestly is better than their championship team from, I think it was 2021, 2022, or yeah, 2022. So in my personal opinion, that's got to be my bad. But I don't think the Warriors are down, and I think it said he's expected to miss a week, and they haven't given an official diagnosis of what it is yet. So we will wait and see what that means. I think he's going to be out the entirety of this round, but hopefully he can come back. Unless has something dropped on it since.
No, he has a what? Is it sprained hamstring? I think it's sprained hamstring. He'll be reevaluated in 1 week.
Okay, so they did. So it's not a major thing that
there's no timeline precisely per se, but
it's also not like they're waiting to see if he has a tear or something more major.
No. They already know what it is.
So I would say he probably will miss this series, if not come back late, or I think they'll wait till the next series. Which honestly, I think that the Warriors can beat the Timberwolves without him, but we'll get into that.
Okay, so that's what I was going with because it
sounds. And again, I think it's going to be a series, but I think that Curry could also come back for it. But that's going to be my bad. What is your bad for this show?
From what you're saying, it sounds like you have the Warriors winning that series. But that we'll get into that. My bad. I'm trying to pick between either the Cavs going down or the fact that Denver got punked by 43. I don't know which is ugly and which is bad. I'm going to say the Cavs. I'm going to go with the Cavs being down 2-0. And we all know why that is. Like game 2, they had 3 of their potential starters being out. 3. So we're saying that I think it was Garland, Mobley, and I forget who the third person was, but 3 of them were all out for game 2. And even though Mitchell came and dropped, what was it, 44? That was still not enough to beat a very good Pacers side, an amazing Pacers side, obviously. And Pacers were obviously down and made it a fun series, made it a fun game by coming back up. But still, when you're down 3 starters, no team wins without, or rather, I don't say no team, but every team struggles being down 3 starters, and it looks like Cleveland are struggling. So I think that's just really bad for them because down 2-0. You can always come back from. Timberwolves did Denver did the last year. You can always do it, but it's still the fact that 3 starters down is just a tough hole to come out of, really. So
It is
yeah,
tough. I mean, that's a good call. Also, for a team that already has had inconsistency in the postseason, but it usually has been because of injuries, players missing time. So this seems to be another example of that. We'll see what happens. I saw a comment saying Cavs getting swept. I don't believe that is happening, but we'll see. Moving on, my ugly is definitely. It's got to be the Nuggets losing by a large double digits because that first game, bro, I'm like, this is going to be a series. This is going to be a series. And I'm not going to lie, I don't hate the Nuggets as much now that Mike Malone is gone. Not that it was his fault that I hated them, but just because we got beat so many times by them, it just I'm gonna be honest, bro. I when I went to that game in February, I was very close. Towards the end of the game, he was crashing out on the sideline, and it was awesome, bro. Being that close and seeing that was nice. But so I'm rooting for the Nuggets more, and I wouldn't hate to see Westbrook get a ring, especially after his time in LA with how everything went. It'd be kind of cool to see him get a championship ring and like finish on that note. But that game did not show that they're going to be the team that does that. Now it's only game 2, so it's like it's better than being up a couple of games and then having a performance like that because that can shift momentum. But it's early in the series, but it's like it's hard to look at it like anything other than OKC is on them, and they're gonna. I mean, honestly, OKC looked asleep in the first game. They didn't look,
yeah. I mean, they had what?
and they
How
only
many
lost by
games?
what did they? How much did they lose by?
I forget what they lost, but I think it was. I don't
Wasn't it
even.
a game winner?
Yeah, it was game winner. Yeah, because Chet missed some free throws.
You're not playing like
Chet has
yourself
made some
and
of
you
those
lose
free
by a
throws. Yeah,
game. That's crazy. That just shows that this is that team. And then you go on to win by 30. I mean, this OKC team is that team. And if you watch this show early in the season of this, you know that I was like, I don't know about OKC. Not really OKC, mainly SGA. I wasn't on board. I just wasn't, but they've been that team and they're still that team. And so that's my ugly, not my bad. It's ugly. I honestly, my really ugly is the Lakers losing in 5, but I mean, we're going to talk about the Lakers more LeBron a little bit later, but that I had to go Nuggets because that was just a really bad loss, and it just makes it look like OKC controls the entirety of the series. So that's my ugly. What is your ugly for the week?
yeah. No, that's definitely my ugly. And I'm just going to add to that. I'm like, first of all, let's look at it like this. I don't see Denver winning the series. I never saw them winning it. I had OKC going to the Western Conference Final. Um, Winning it, that's a different conversation for whenever we get to that point. But and obviously I was wrong. I had Clippers beating Denver too, so I didn't have Denver making it to this point, to be honest. So whoever had won that series, I still had OKC beating them. Um, it was game one. It was just obviously we kind of expected it because like they had a long layover. Like they cleared who they even cleared? They cleared the Grizzlies in 4. Nuggets was still to a 7K. So they had a good number of days to just chill and relax. So obviously they were going to shake off some rust. And the fact that if Chet had made those free throws, they probably would not have lost that game. Because let's be frank, Denver were really lucky that day. But we all saw what happened with OKC and how everything, if you watch that game, everything was falling for them. Every shot they took was falling. I was like, what's going on? And obviously, Joker fouled out in the third quarter, so that was also sad, but they got pumped. That was bad loss. I was like Memphis 2 point. No, that's not as bad as Memphis, but he almost got to that point. He almost got to that point, but yeah.
Well, that's a great point. It almost got to that point for a team that literally just won a championship and just competed for one again. So it's not a good look at all. Time will tell. You've been rocking with OKC and SGA since the beginning, and rightfully so, because they've been that team that is leaps and bounds ahead, and he's been that player that's leaps and bounds ahead. Now, Joker is playing pretty solid basketball these playoffs, And I will say, you did make a good point. Him fouling out in the third, that could have shifted the momentum, but they were still getting punked either way. It
Of
wasn't
course,
changing
fucking
the
pumped. It
it
was-
wasn't changing the outcome of the game. So time will tell. I mean, we'll talk in a little bit about what we think about that next game. But moving on to a game that's taking place today as we record this is Timberwolves versus, I think it's the only game going on today.
I
Timberwolves
believe so.
versus
Is
Warriors.
it?
It's
Yeah.
taking place in Minnesota, I believe. And what I will say is
Yeah, it's the
this.
only game today, 8:30. Okay.
Yeah, it's a small slate. So we just have basketball is starting to wind down. You can tell by those days when I was looking at the schedule and there's days where it's 1 or 2 games. So basketball is coming to an end, sadly, but there's still plenty of exciting NBA basketball left. But T-Wolves Warriors game 3, or excuse me, game 2. It's in Minnesota. We saw what impact that had for the T-Wolves their last series. We saw that Minnesota fans, is it not? Huh?
No, I'm just thinking. I feel like you're going some type of way, and I want you to land first, so that will be like,
Oh no, I thought you were. Is it not in
no,
Minnesota? I thought that looked
no,
like that.
no, it's game two. It's game two. It's in
Okay.
Minnesota.
No,
I was like, you already have your mindset on what you want to say of like who win the series, and I'm just like,
no, I think you have it wrong. Oh wait, maybe you don't. I don't know. Either way, we'll see. We'll see if you're right. I think the Timberwolves win it because it's at home and their home crowd shows up and they have momentum. I think they'll have a better offensive game. They've had some really bad offensive games in a row. They were able to
15
beat us
points.
with one of those
15
games, which
points.
I can't
15.3% from the field, from the 3-point line.
read that shit up. That is terrible. That's like me going out there and trying to put some shots up. I'd probably be a little bit lower than that, but still, it's looking like someone that shouldn't be out on the court. It's looking like a team of players that are not prepared in an area of basketball where you need to be prepared to win in this era of basketball. So for me, they weren't there, but they still beat us. Now we'll talk a little Lakers action a little bit, which will kind of include that. But I think they take game 2 and tie it up 1-1. But what I will say is this: playoff Jimmy still exists. Playoff Jimmy is still real. I don't see this Warriors team being able to take care of the series in a 4 or 5 game series. I think we're looking at a 6 or 7 game series. I'm going Warriors. Whether or not Steph comes back. I think he's not going to. I think he stays. I think they keep him unless for whatever reason we get through what it would be 2 games probably in the span of the week he'll be out and they're down 2 games. Maybe then if he's ready to go, they bring him back. But I think they keep Steph, and I think we see Jimmy buckets and a team of. What I will say is this: they don't have the best depth in all positions, and they don't always show up. And I think we've seen that plenty of times. But I also think Jimmy is a leader, and we've seen him take teams and make them better than they are, even just in small moments of the season. So I think it's going to be a good series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep by any means, but I don't think the Timberwolves take the series over and take control of the series. I think we are going to see a series that goes down to the wire, and I'm going Warriors in 6 or 7 games. But I'm definitely giving the Timberwolves game 2. It's at home. We've seen their crowd show up, and I think it's going to be a game that they take over. David, what are your thoughts? Is that what you thought I was going to say?
I knew that's where you were going. I knew that's where you were going with the series win. I didn't, but with the game win, I agree 100%. I don't think. I mean, their last 2 games they've shot abysmal from the 3-point line. You can't do that third game in a row. I don't think that's happening. I think they will come out and Ant will not have the 0 for 10 he was, or 0 for whatever he was, or 1 for whatever he was against the Warriors. So I don't think that's happening. So I do believe that the Timberwolves will even the series. Now, where you're wrong, or rather where I disagree with you, is that I think the Timberwolves, or I believe the Timberwolves will take care of business. They'll go to San Francisco and take care of both games 3 and 4, and the series will end in 5. 5, 6, 5. I'll say 5. Timberwolves, maybe six, maybe they might snatch one, maybe. But I think I like Jimmy. I think Jimmy can carry them. I think Buddy Hield too is amazing. He's been amazing this past two games. Also, I think he can carry them very much so. Um, very much so. But I don't think it'll be enough. I think the Timberwolves would take care of business, and I'm going to go with six. I'll go with six. I think it will. And even if Curry comes back, I never had them beating the Timberwolves in this series. Don't get me wrong, I had to, but I still think the Timberwolves will stand on business with or without Curry. So yeah, that's where we disagree. And again, I don't think I think this time there will be an offensive clinic, a shooting performance from the whole team, really, not just from Ant. Ant will not go all for whatever. Like, come on now, he's done that twice in a row. Third time, no, come on now. So yeah, give me the Timberwolves in six, and give me Timberwolves tonight.
Fair. I think we definitely agree on them winning this game, and I definitely think it'll be a series that is pushed. Again, I'm giving the edge to the Warriors, but so far, if we're keeping score, you have definitely been more correct about the playoff outcome. So we'll see about this game or this game. We agree on this round, though. We'll see. I still am going to give it to the Warriors with or without Steph, but I do think there's a chance they activate Steph. But again, I don't think they need to activate Steph. But this is a dangerous team and a team that just beat the Lakers after everyone was saying Lakers in five, and it wasn't just on this show. It was very widespread a belief, and then it was 5 games, but it wasn't the Lakers. So different story for a different day. But we will move on and talk about two teams that are down 0-2 in the Pacers, or excuse me, in the Celtics and the Cavs. I'm going to start and say this and keep it simple. I think the Pacers win in 5. I don't think the Cavs come back because we have seen, and maybe it's 6. Maybe I'll push it to 6. The reason I think that it's going to be a Pacers win is, you said it best earlier. I mean, the Cavs have a rotating carousel of injured players, and it just happens to be Defensive Player of the Year. It just happens to be multi-year MVP candidate. I mean, these are important players, an important scorer in guard. I mean, these are important pieces that are out. Now, some may be back as early as the next game or the game following, but I just do not see the Cavs being able to come back, being down this momentum. There's a momentum, and now the games have been close. It's been an exciting series. These have not been blowouts. If you're watching what I'm saying or listening and you haven't watched the series, maybe it sounds like I'm talking about blowout. It's not been blowouts.
Mhm.
They've been close games and exciting games, but the Pacers just have an edge. They have a little bit more, especially when the Cavs are missing those key players. So I think the Pacers take care of business. I'm saying 5. I might say 6, just like you switched your 5 to a 6 in the last one, because I think I can see the Cavs having a little bit of success. But I just don't. I don't know. I don't see the Cavs having enough to come back. Celtics is the exact opposite for me. The Celtics have lost by very thin margins. Now, having that big lead and blowing it can be an indication that your team is going to blow the rest of the series. We've seen that happen, or we've seen teams have big turnarounds, and I think the Celtics could be that team because they're defending their title and because they've had success in the postseason up until now. I don't think they're going to get completely punked or swept or anything like that. And I think that it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series that is going to go in favor of the Celtics. I'm not trying to be on the other end if you're like calling an opposite call than you on every single thing, because I bet you're going Knicks. I could be wrong, but I'm sure you're going Knicks, and I'm sure a lot of people are because they're up 2 games. But I'm going Celtic. Yeah, I'm going Celtics. Give me Celtics. Give me Celtics coming back. Give me
Oh my
Pacers
God.
beating the Cavs. I think for game game 3 for both of them.
Both teams, yeah.
Give me Pacers winning game 3. Give me Celtics winning game 3. Give me Celtics down 1-2. Give me Pacers up 3-0. What are your thoughts, David?
Obviously, I started the show with "Go New York, go New York, go New York, go New York, go." Because obviously, if I'm not a Lakers fan, I am a New York fan. I don't know what it is. Those Villanova boys have me falling in love with them. I don't know what it is, but anyways, that being said, I'm going to go the opposite route because I do believe, and I'm sticking with what I believe. New York is going to hand. They are going to get over the hump. This is the year New York gets over the hump, and it's so sad that it's against the big time C's, the Celtics. Now, when they say get over the hump, I'm not saying that they will go and make it to the conference, the NBA finals. That's a whole other conversation. Let's see how this series goes. But I think they will go. They will go over the Celtics. Now, is it would that be in 6 games or in 5? That's a whole other conversation to have. But I do know that New York would get the job done because a team blowing 20-point leads twice, you can't change my mind about it. I'm sorry, you cannot change it. You can't even blow 20-point lead. You did everything right. Finish the game. No. You can't. No, I'm sorry. You can't do that. Now for the Pacers series, I have the Cavs winning that one. I have the Cavs coming back. I actually have the Cavs coming back from that and ending the series in 6. I have these Cavs winning 4 straight. Now that might sound bizarre and crazy and obviously mental, but I had the Cavs winning 4 straight to finish this series in 6. This is no credit to Pacers. This is just how good the Cavs have been, and I stand on business. I believe in that Darius Garland will be back. I believe Evan Mobley will be back. I forget who the third person is, will also be back, and they will stand on business, win 4 in a row. So so for game 3, I'm going to say Boston wins game 3. I'm not even going to sugar. I think Boston win game 3, and I think, and as I've said earlier, and I'll say again, Cavs win game 3,
4 in a
win
row.
4 in a row, and ends the series in 6.
You know what?
Boston wins game 3, and but New York State ends the series. I'm going to maybe say 6 too. I'm going to go with 6 for that one too.
You might be right. I don't know. You've been right so far. What I will say once again, completely opposite. I mean, not so opposite that I can't say I can see where you're coming from, and that I also could see both of those things happening. I think 4 from the Cavs is a little bit hard for me to see just because this Cavs team has shown inconsistencies in the postseason before, especially when something like this comes up. Now, you made a good point. They're expecting to have players back, but sometimes that's not enough at a certain point. But this series has still been close. The games have still been close. And that goes for the Knicks and the Celtics. I mean, these are 2 really close semi-series. So time will tell. Moving on, Nuggets, OKC, 1-1 in the series, but obviously that first game was close. We already talked about OKC not looking fully like themselves and not finishing the game like they usually do. Like they're a team they're a closeout team. They're very good at closing games out. That was not what happened in that first game. Second game, it was kind of like they came back and said, never mind. Like, I mean, I think people really thought, I don't think people thought the Nuggets were going to sweep them, but I think people were like, whoa, this Nuggets team. And they kind of took that thought and erased it because that second game they won by 30 plus points. So for me, game 3, do you know where game 3 is at? I should have looked that up.
It's in Denver.
It's in Denver.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to look at the Nuggets the same now after that loss. And I'm going to be realistic and say I think OKC takes game 3, but it's not going to be a 30 plus point win. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think we're going to see a much more controlled and level-headed Denver. And I think that they'll lose by under 10 points, but I'm still going to go OKC. I think that this is an exciting, I mean, what people aren't talking about enough is this is really a battle of the MVP candidates. This is really a battle of the best players in the league this season. And
there's a thing. I feel like there's a, sorry to cut, but I feel like, to your point, I feel like there is this would probably, I don't say shape the narrative around the MVP race, but this would be kind of be like, oh, well, see, this is this is why this is this, which is mental, to be honest. But
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. I do think that it's an interesting matchup because of that MVP, and it will definitely change. Not, I don't know. It'll either change or help back up people's opinions. Time will tell, depending on what people are feeling. I know for me, I'm with you. I think OKC wins it. I don't see Denver would have to have a statement game, which I think game 4, maybe they do, but I don't think game 3 is. I think that they lose. But again, I think it's going to be a much closer game. I think we're looking at a 6 to 8 point loss. I'm not going to call a score, but I think that that's kind of what I'm thinking. So yeah, give me the OKC Thunder winning game 3. They just did not look like themselves in game 1, and then game 2, I'd say that was themselves. So yeah, give me OKC, but again, I don't have them winning in. I think the series is going to get pushed to a 6-game series. I do think this series will get pushed to a 6-game series. I'm giving the Nuggets another one, but I think it's going to be game 4. I think they're going to have a statement game, another close win in game 4, and then I think OKC closes it out. Is my personal opinion. I think that's what happens. Now, the Nuggets could have a completely opposite performance in a good way and pull off a win and make people be like, wow, like this still is a series, but I don't feel that. I mean, 6 games indicates it's a series, but it really doesn't. I think OKC holds on and wins it in 6, maybe even in 5. But yeah, give me OKC game 3. What are your thoughts? Are you giving it to OKC, or does Joker have it in him, do you think, for a game 3 victory?
no, no. I think OKC will stand up business. OKC will get it done. I've been riding OKC, and I'm not going to stop now because they're playing Joker. No. I have OKC winning this in 5. I'm sorry, but like I just can't see them not doing it in 5. I just can't see it happening. This is not going to 6. It's not going to 7. This is 5. Uh, so we'll see how it goes. But I have OKC getting business done in 5. You're mute.
I'm muted. Whoops. For me, I think I just see the Nuggets getting one more. I think they can get it done, but I don't think they can get the series done. So time will tell. I can also see your point coming true because I can see OKC closing out because of especially how they played game 2. You don't win a game like that and not be that team that's able to move on. So I just don't see them. I do see the Nuggets. Do you see it being a closer game, or do you still see the Thunder winning by a large margin?
No, it should definitely not be like a large margin. I feel like if we the average of next 4 wins, next 4 wins would be like 7, 8. They might be tied neck and neck, probably entering the 4th, and then OKC just goes on a mini run, and then Denver tries to claw back, but it won't be enough. Now that's kind of how I see every game going. So we'll see.
Which is because OKC again is a team that can close out. So
Yes.
I think that's going to happen, and again that's why I can see your point. I can see it going in that direction and them closing the series out. So time will tell. OKC all the way. We could be seeing, bro. What if we see OKC versus the Knicks? What are you gonna? Are you going? You're going New York, right? I mean,
Yeah. That's definitely what's going to happen. I'm going to go New York, but it's be a
tough
tough
call.
one. It's be a tough one for sure.
It
As
could
as
be.
to OKC
This could
Knicks.
be a reality that we see, bro. I
No, I
honestly.
definitely know. But I actually never really thought about it really. But
It
I
would be
will go. I
insane if
will.
the Knicks won a championship. It would be that would be out of left field, bro. That would be way beyond left field. So time will tell, man. I'm excited to see. Obviously, our boys are out. Which, speaking of that, we're gonna start talking a little bit of Lakers basketball. Before we go there, we're gonna talk about teams that are out. So obviously, round 1 and the play-in brought multiple teams out, including our boys. So the question is, are there any teams that were eliminated in round 1 or in the plan that we think will have big off seasons and make improvements and have better outcomes next season. I'm going to start by saying I think all three California teams that were out early, which is the Kings, Lakers, and Clippers, will have a successful season. The Clippers, if Kawhi can stay healthy, which that is a really tricky thing to see, but he stayed very healthy and very consistent this season. If they just make a few roster tweaks, that's a pretty complete team right there that has a lot of the pieces they need on both sides of the ball. So honestly, the Clippers, in my personal opinion, just need another season together. I think we'll see them finish the season higher up and have an even better finish. Honestly, that was a really exciting team to watch. And like we talked about, it did get pushed to 7 games that first round against the Nuggets. And it was just cool to see that team and to see Kawhi playing like Kawhi. And I think that'll continue. And I think we'll see the Clippers have a really successful season. So now, again, that could go be flipped and Kawhi could get injured, or they could make head scratching changes, but I think they'll keep their players, a core amount of their players, a good amount of their players, and maybe just make a few different adjustments and additions to strengthen their roster. But I think we'll see the Clippers finish within the top 4 next season, potentially. Lakers, obviously, there's a lot of question marks around what's going to happen with them. Regardless of what happens with LeBron, I think Luka is coming back, and I think they will make major roster adjustments. Now, that doesn't mean blowing their roster up like they have before, but we saw Rudy Gobert get 20. I mean, that was a nightmare. Seeing the player that I have called overrated about 1 million times on 1 million different platforms, having a legendary performance against the Lakers, I couldn't take it, man. It was rough.
I don't.
We need to strengthen up that big man position. We were very small. We also JJ. Shout out to JJ Redick, but I think, and again, I'm not an NBA coach, but I think you could tell that he was an inexperienced playoff NBA coach. I think that you could tell that the moment was maybe not, I don't want to say too big, and shout out to him because he had a phenomenal season. But for me, I think the Lakers will be better with or without LeBron, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the Kings, I think they'll be better. I think they built a team and a new core pretty late in the season, but I think we'll see it pay off with a full season. And then on the East, I'm going Hawks. I think the only team I'm going is the Hawks. I think the Hawks, we've seen teams where players have big boosts and have big seasons, and they have a roster that looks way better. And then the next season, that's when the wins come. And I think that'll be the Hawks. I don't think they'll be a top 4 team, but I think they'll be a top 5, top 6 team. Top 5 might be a stretch. I think they could be a 6th seed if they really have the momentum. I think they will. So yeah, those are the 4 teams that were eliminated early that I think will have better seasons. But I think all of the LA teams do need to look at their roster and to a certain degree to have more success. More so the Lakers and the Kings than the Clippers. But those would be my picks. David, who do you think within the teams that got eliminated early are going to have a better season?
Better off season. I don't know if that's where you're going with, but better season next year.
Yeah, just like a better outcome to their season.
But obviously, I think the Lakers are going to definitely have a better season. They will. We saw what they did with what they had, finishing 3rd in the West. They will have a better season. I think they'll have a good season. Hawks will probably still be in the playing. It is what it is for them. I think just because of how the East is made up and how they are built as a team, I think they will. Yeah, I think still think they'll be a playing team. Kings. I don't know. Kings is a tough one. LA team, both LA teams will still be, they'll still be up there. No, I don't think they'll be fighting for play. I think they'll still be up there. We saw what Kawhi did when he was healthy. I think he will still remain healthy. I don't see any foreseeable injury that will just come and take Kawhi away like we did last time. But yes, but Hawks are trash. Maybe that might be a fair answer. I'd be a fair answer. But yeah, I think 2 LA teams will be up there. Grizzlies, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I'm not even looking too much into them. I don't trust. They'll still remain a playing team. Kings will just be seventh, eighth. That's what I think about them. Seventh, eighth. Bulls. We all know Bulls. Miami, like except Miami need major changes. Now let's stick with Miami for a minute. They need major changes. The amount of changes they need, we need a whole episode for them. Um, so as the Bucks do. Bucks are kind of a tough one because they still have Giannis. It's not like they don't have Giannis. They still have Giannis and they still have Dame. But what exactly is the
Question
problem?
mark.
It's like we can't pinpoint where the problem is. Like we know when we think of the Lakers, we know okay, they need defense. We know that's where they need perimeter defense. They need a big man. We know that's the problem with the Lakers, right? We know LA Clippers. We know they need. Actually, I don't know what the Clippers need. We know the Grizzlies. They're just a red terrible team. Hawks again, terrible roster construction. Um, what was there? Kings. They're just I think one season wonder, obviously. So, but then Bucks, I just don't know where the problem is. Detroit, on the other hand, would be amazing for years to come. Detroit would be amazing.
Man, I don't know how I
Like they will compete. They will compete for years to come.
yeah.
Obviously, I mean, years to come is a stretch, but they will compete for the next few
3 to
seasons.
4 years probably.
3 to 4 years they will compete, and they might make go the distance one of these years
Yeah,
to
dude,
come.
I can't believe I forgot them. God,
No, you're good. You're
crazy.
good. So we'll see. But again, I said the two LA teams will definitely be up there. Detroit will definitely be competing. Detroit to them. Bucks, question mark. They might still keep competing, but still a question mark. Hawks playing, Kings playing, um, Grizzlies playing. Um, who else am I missing?
Oh, Mavericks.
Mavs. Mavs.
That'll be interesting. It depends on what they do in the offseason, and it'll depend on how successful they can be until Kyrie comes back. Because, which so
Yeah,
far, Nico
I
hasn't
completely
shown that he
forgot.
can build a roster. Not that it's all him that builds it, but he has not shown that he can build a successful roster. So we'll see. But I think Bucks, Mavs are two teams that have big question marks, and that's why I didn't list them. I straight up forgot to put Detroit. I think Detroit's not a question mark. Detroit, I agree, 3 to 4 years, if not more. But I think for me, Mavs are a question mark. Can AD stay healthy? Will more stuff start coming out? Not like I think there's a bunch of scandals, but will more player discomfort come out? Will Kyrie come back when it says he will? Because I think it says December or January right now. I could be wrong, but I believe it's in that timeline is when he's expected to come back. So for me, I think there's a lot of question marks. I think they need to make roster changes. I think they need to have a little bit of a culture reset because Luka is gone. And so I'm hoping that they can make some moves that help go in that direction. So yeah, I don't know. They're a question mark for me. That's why I didn't list them because they're a question mark. I agree with you about Heat. Heat could be a team that surprises people, honestly, because they have one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest people behind the scenes as well in Pat Riley and in Spoelstra. So the team of them have done some things that have made teams out of almost thin air. So they could take what they have and strengthen it, but yeah, I honestly the LA teams are the teams that I think we'll see up there, and I think they'll have more successful postseasons. At least 2 out of 3. I think Clippers and Lakers will have more successful postseasons than they had this season. And then I'm going with Hawks, but again, I think I agree with you that there's parts of their roster that are poorly constructed, and so they'll have to make some changes. They have some positives, but they have to take their negatives and subtract those and see what they can do in the offseason. And they're a team that could make some positive changes in the offseason. So time will tell with those teams. Speaking of time will tell. We're going to talk about LeBron because we have finished another Lakers season with LeBron James. This is his 7th season as a Laker. We're going to grade it his time as a Laker, and then we're going to talk about if we think he's done or not. Not that we think he's leaving or done, but because he's had 7 seasons, and that's a substantial amount of his career now. Obviously, it doesn't outshine the Cavs, but it's still a substantial part of his career, especially his later career. The question is, what would we grade it from an A to an F? Starting with me, I think for pros, obviously winning a championship so early in his time as a Laker was huge. Um, also winning a finals MVP as a Laker. I think people overshadow that, which I think people overshadow the championship as a whole because it was in the bubble. I think the outcome would be the same no matter what. I think that team was destined to win a championship even outside of the bubble. Now, you can't really say that because obviously travel and arenas and fans, and there's different environment things and different things that can change the outcome. But I still think the Lakers would have been in the same situation. Maybe they would have played a different team. Maybe they would have played different teams, but I still think they would have been in the finals. Would they have won like they did? I'm not, but I still think the scenario. So for me, I count that no matter what, and regardless of everything I just said, I give them credit. So he won a championship, a Finals MVP. First 3 seasons, he was in MVP rankings, like high up. His first first 3 seasons, excuse me, his second, third, and fourth season as a Laker, because his first season he got injured. But season 2, 3, and 4 as a Laker, he was high up in MVP voting and was a major candidate. And then, of course, breaking the all-time scoring record as a Laker. Of course, he didn't score all of his points as a Laker, but he scored quite a few. He scored a good amount of points as a Laker, and that was just a really big moment to break as a Laker, taking that from Kareem, a former Laker. And then obviously his other stats, he has just boosted insanely since he's been a Laker. People don't really
He was also MVP. Just to add to that, he was also MVP just before his injury, or even I think after the injury, he was top 5 in MVP voting this year. So obviously, he wasn't going to win it, but yeah, just add to that.
That's another, finishing high up, and that's like so late. That's huge. The negatives, though, for me, are obviously being bounced in the first rounds. I mean, that's huge to be bounced as many times as they have in the first round. Also being a play-in team as many times as they've been, or struggling to reach, which that's not on LeBron, but because of what he does for teams, of course you're going to look at that and be like, okay, that's, when he's on a team, you do expect success. And we've seen him take teams that are not very good and turn them into teams that have won championships, or maybe not won championships, but at least made pushes. I will say that the last team that he won a championship with before he was a Laker in Cleveland, that was a really well-constructed team. But after that, you take him off of those teams and they're like 20-win teams. So LeBron has that impact. So you look at that. The overhaul and that disastrous 2022 team with Westbrook, he was very heavily involved in that team, in the construction of that team. And he came forth and said that, which I respect him for that. I respect him for he didn't take 100% because he's not in the front office, but he signed off heavily on Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony and all of these different changes that led us to a season without the playoffs. He also had 2 seasons where we didn't even make the playoffs, which was one of those as a Laker. So these things take away a little bit for me as a Lakers fan. These things take away a little bit. I will say he had some exciting playoff moments. And they've been to he's taken to the Western Conference Finals 2 times. I should have added that. But getting beaten in 5 games the last 2 playoff series leaves a bad taste in your mouth for sure. But for me, all of these things, I'm going to give his time as a Laker a B-. It would be a plus for me if we hadn't gotten beaten in 5 games the last 2 years in a row. It would be a plus for me because before last year's playoffs, we had a really exciting, that was a fun run. When we beat Memphis, we beat the Warriors, and then of course we got stomped by the Nuggets, but that was their season to win it all. Obviously, that was their year to have that success.
Did you get swept? I forget. Did you get swept in that series?
5 games. 5 games.
5 games?
I think maybe we got swept. I thought it was 5. I think because then the next year we got beaten in 5 again by them. So we've got beaten in 5 in the playoffs the last few seasons when we've gotten beaten. But getting beaten in the first round leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But it'd be a plus if that hadn't happened. The only way it would be an A for me is if he won 2 championships as a Laker, or if he won a regular season award like MVP, which he almost did multiple times. And being in that race is big. But I'm giving him a B minus. I'm giving him a B minus. David, what is your grade? What do you think? What would you give him in his 7 seasons as a Laker? You think B minus is too low or too high?
I don't know why we're talking about him like he's leaving or something. Like,
no, just looking at him, just looking at his time, because it's been long now.
I'm going to go with a solid B. Solid B. I think it's one of those things where it's like he's done enough good, but then the not so good parts sometimes have just outweighed some of the good he's done. Again, we know this is a team sport. We can't say he's at fault for
very true
getting swept or no getting outed in the first round twice back to back. You know, we can't say it's his fault for not making the playoffs. Injuries were also a big part of it, like AD going down. Like there's so much he could do. Now, all you can say is, well, you signed off on roster construction. That's the big one. You know, that's the big one we hold him to. We can say against maybe last year or 2 years ago, there were times where he should have driven to the paint instead of taking threes, like where he dropped KCP and instead of driving, he took a 3 and he missed it. So, and then obviously there's the head coach carousel that some might say whatever they want to say. So, but I still think the good he did for LA was obviously outweighed the not so best parts of it. But again, just looking at those parts, it's kind of hard to say he's stellar. Like now, would he get his jersey retired? I mean, they'd be retiring everyone's jerseys. Has he done enough to get his jersey retired in LA? That's all for you all to answer.
Retired 23 and 6. I'm just kidding. No.
I don't know. So
did he only wear 6 during that really bad season?
I forget what season, because he won 23, the championship season, right?
I have a video of him dunking in OKC, and it was with Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. So that would have been the really bad season, but I don't know if he wore it multiple years. I think he only wore it one. I don't know. I have a jersey that has it 6 on it from whenever he had it. But either way, that was a dark time for the most part. But I think a B is it realistic. I'm curious if people are thinking it'd be lower or higher. I
mean, I think anyone that says lower, like in terms of below a B, like B minus, I think anyone that says below a B minus is just hating at this point. I think you're either just hating or you actually don't watch basketball or you actually don't watch the game.
Or on the flip side, it could also be a fan that is like a old school Kobe, Shaq, or even before that fan that saw like 3. And so you also have that fan group that isn't satisfied by just one. But again, you made a great point. There's been injuries. There's been so many things that haven't, but it's just LeBron being so polarizing and being so he is basketball. He is NBA basketball in a lot of ways. He embodies a lot of like the sport, and he's really that image of NBA basketball in a lot of ways, and how it should be played. And so, minus some of the flops, I will say, I think it was one of the games. It might have been game 5. He had a major flop. Maybe it was game 4. I'm not sure. He flops though, but it happens. Everyone, hey, the whole NBA does it. But
exactly.
But anyways, no. I think yeah. Anyone, I agree they'd be hating. But what I will say, and I think you've already made your thoughts known on if we think he's leaving. I don't think he is. I don't see there being. I mean, I don't want to say I don't see there being any way. I think last year when we talked about this, I'm going to say the same thing. I think the only reason he would leave is if injuries, if he feels like his body is not able to still do it, and I would be shocked. He made a comment about missing the Met Gala because of his knees, but I don't
Yeah,
like
the MCL sprain. So
that's not a super like big, statement. I mean, he had the
yeah.
same exact press conferences last year too, saying he had to talk to his family. He didn't know, blah, blah, blah. The thing that's different than last season is he has Luka. And I think Luka is going to become a staple of LA sports. And we only saw a fraction of that. We only saw a little bit
Mhm.
of that. If we're being honest, we didn't even see a whole half of a season of it, really, in my personal opinion. So we're going to see. I mean, we got close. We saw a good amount of it, and it was successful. They were third. I mean, we haven't seen them be that successful in a couple of seasons. So for me,
Mhm.
that was big. That was huge. And they definitely owe a lot of that to Luka. But LeBron looked rejuvenated and like he really had an extra level of something that is so important. And I just think that I think he's gonna come back. I don't see it being more than 2 seasons, but I think it's one. I think he
Mhm.
comes back. I think he announces, and a lot of people have made either jokes or have been somewhat serious about there's no way LeBron is going out without a tour. And that's so true. LeBron is not going to retire without an entire season. And it's not even a bad, like, I can't believe he deserves it. He deserves a whole
Mhm.
season dedicated to him. And wouldn't that be insane if he has a farewell tour where he wins a championship or at least competes for one? That would be legendary. So for me, I don't think he goes out I don't think he goes out a 5-game round one exit. Does he leave the Lakers? No, I don't see there being I just don't see there being a scenario, especially with how the teams are set up right now. I don't see there being a scenario where there be a team that, of course, teams will probably want him. Of course, every team wants him. I don't see any team really reaching out to him, though. I think he's staying in LA. I think everyone knows if he stays in basketball, he's staying in LA. So the only thing I think is going to detract from that and maybe make him consider retirement at least is the injuries. But he still had a pretty healthy season. He had some injuries, but he stayed for 40 years old. I mean, and doing the things he was still doing this season, he stayed pretty healthy and had a pretty successful season. So I do think he's coming back for a tour. I think he's going to announce it, have some big announcement where he says he's coming back for one more season. Um, and I think that the Lakers improve their depth dramatically, especially when it comes to their size, because that I'm gonna have nightmares about that game 5 and Rudy Gobert. I'm never gonna forget it because we were just getting absolutely he was taking everything, everything. So
Yeah, I'm reminiscing. I'm reminiscing.
it's a tough one, but
What?
the point is, I do think we'll improve in that area, and it'll be dramatically shown.
Yeah.
I also would not be surprised. I do think we're going to hold on to a lot of players, but I would not be shocked, especially if LeBron is coming back. If there is a dramatically big move the Lakers can make, they're probably going to make it, even if it includes trading some of their pieces. They're not, and again, they have a really well built team in a lot of areas, but to obtain the size they need, they might need to make some shifts. I saw a rumor about a Brook Lopez signing. Um,
Yeah,
I
because
don't
he's a free agent, so
I don't
that's
love that just because he's an older player, but he is still a unit. I mean, here's the thing: you don't need an AD. AD is legendary. You don't need an AD that does it all. If you just have a big man that can pick up around a double double and also play defense like Lopez does, huge. So Lopez would be a big one where you don't have to part with any pieces made. So I do see them trying to build their team up in that sort of way, but yeah, I think if you go below a B minus, you're hating, and I think LeBron is staying in LA. But do you think LeBron is leaving, or are you set on him having his retirement farewell tour?
Bro's life is in LA. Bro literally does everything in LA. He's not living for no what to. As much as yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows that it's obviously the end is nearer than it was a few years back. And I again, as much as he says the goal is championships, I think he's not really focused on that right now. He's more of just making sure his family is settled, his family gets to do what they need to do, and all that good stuff. And that's okay because there's a season for everything, and while we're getting to that season of you just settling down and just being the husband, father, and loving friend that we know you to be. So yeah.
I mean, that's a very good insight, and I think that's very true. I don't think he's like, yes, I do think he still would love to win a championship. And I think that's still a possibility, even if that isn't at the forefront of his mind with the team that they have in LA, especially with Luca and the team they already had, because it wasn't just Luca and LeBron. They went on that run to obtain that number 3 seed together as a team. So we just saw in the playoffs a couple of major holes and a couple of areas. But I agree with you. I mean, his life is LA. Um, I do see him addressing that the end is near. He's already said that a little bit before, but I do see if he comes back, even if he doesn't directly announce a retirement tour, I don't see him playing more than 1 or 2 more seasons. And would be shocked if it's 2. I think we're looking at 1 more season of LeBron. And I think rightfully so. I mean, he's given so much of his life to the NBA. And now we are seeing some injuries, not super consistent, luckily, but we are seeing some stuff start to build up. And I don't want to see him, finish his career with a major injury. That would be awful to see
Mhm.
him just play until he has a major injury, until the wheels fall off. So I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll have 1 more season. I think he'll have a very similar season to this one. I think we'll see him drop 20 plus points, average around below a triple double. And I think we'll see him and Luca tear it up and finish within the top 4 next season. So I'm excited. Time will tell. Obviously, Luca's up for a big extension, and I see him taking that. And I see the Lakers really looking to the future. And so I do see LeBron remaining, but I see us seeing a Laker team that we're going to see for a while. I think they're going to invest in the future. So time will tell. We'll obviously cover it as it comes. And if LeBron does retire, then obviously you'll hear it from us on whenever show he retires by. But the hope is that he doesn't, and the belief is that he's not going to. I don't see him going out like that. I see him having a season where he has a little more people know that it's the end. So to some extent. Moving on for our final segment of the day, we're going to do our top of the hour 5. And we've been talking NBA playoffs. Obviously, those are the biggest storylines to follow right now. And so we're going to talk about the top 5 NBA players of the 2025 playoffs. We're going to roll through this list. Starting with number 5, I've got Cat from the Knicks. I've got to give Cat some credit. He's not known for his defense, and he still hasn't been putting up an insane performance defensively. But I think we're seeing an effort on defense and a little bit more life, and it's actually transcending to the offensive side of the ball. I think we're seeing him more aggressive. Let me just say it like that. Let me keep it simple. He's playing aggressive, and while he's not averaging 30 plus points, he's averaging very, very, very impressive numbers that are boosting this team to the wins that they're getting. So shout out to Cat for playing aggressive and being a little bit more of an aggressive player than I think we've seen. So maybe it's that New York energy. I don't know, but something is giving him life, and I'm here for it. So Cat is my number 5. Who do you got for 5?
I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler. Since obviously the injury was he missed 2 games, but before that and even after that, he's just been carrying this Warriors team. Like, let's be frank, him and Buddy Hield, and love their chemistry, love their banter. But yeah, he's been amazing. And I was going to give Karl Anthony Towns, but I think Karl Anthony Towns could do much more. Could do so much
That's a
more.
good point.
Like so much more. But that, I'm not discrediting him, and I agree. That's valid. I just think Jimmy Butler has done much more, and that's probably why the Warriors are where they are right now. Even in the losses, you could see even in the losses where they lost to the Warriors, sorry, to the Rockets. I think Jimmy Butler had games that he was pretty good. So yeah, give me Jimmy Butler at number 5.
No, very good. Good pick. Jimmy Butler, honorable mention. I never remember to do them, but if I did, he'd be my honorable mention. Moving on to 4, I've got to give it to Tyrese Halliburton. Now he, again, this is another player that isn't averaging like 30 points a game, but he's having big game-winning moments and he's doing it consistently. And he's having big games, and he is a difference maker, and he is the Pacers' lifeline. And I said it at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it at the end of the show. He's the most clutch Pacer since Paul George. And so there was a day when Victor Oladipo had some clutchness in certain ways, and I got to give him a shout out. I can't forget him, bro. I think people forget about Victor Oladipo a little bit, but still, I'd say Tyrese Halliburton's the most clutch player, and he's showing that. And again, it's good for the NBA for a player to win or be voted. It's not really winning, to be voted most overrated, and then to have it sets up a storyline. So shout out to Tyre. I think he's the Pacers' lifeline, and he's exciting. And it's exciting to see him put up performances of clutchness, and that team put up performances of clutchness similar to the Reggie Miller days. So shout out to the Pacers. I got to give him some love because I wasn't on board, but I got to be on board now. How could you not be? Who do you got for number 4, bro?
I have Nikola Jokic
Ooh.
as my number 4. Now, this doesn't mean he's a bad player. This just means that there are players before him that have performed better. And this is not based on one game. This is not based on, game winners or whatever. I just think, I don't remember, there was a game, I think it was game 7 or was it game 6? He had 50 something in terms of points, rebounds, and assists. But I'm just, the players that have before him have just been better. I think that's what it is. It's not really about him. It's more about the players in front of him and where the teams are and how they got to where they are. So yeah, give me Nikola Jokic again, not because of him, but just because of the players in front of him. And I will talk about them in a minute. So yeah.
Very fair. No, very fair place for him. Well, I got him one place ahead of you. For my number 3 spot, I've got Joker. You said it best. He had a really massive game, and he's had some pretty massive games. And honestly, this is another player not known for defense that's looked a little more aggressive in these playoffs. And every playoff time, Joker comes alive a little bit more and is a little more aggressive. But I think we're seeing an extra level of that. And so for me, MVP top candidate Joker, not top candidate, but top 2 candidate, top candidate Joker is performing like that, but I can't put him higher than the top 2 guys because they're doing more for their teams and they're both up in their series. Well, excuse me. My number 1 guy actually is tied with the Nuggets right now, but I would say they're up in the series because of how the last game went. Who do you got for number 3 though?
Number 3, I have, and this was a tough one because I was like, but I have Tyrese. I have Tyrese because Tyrese is the reason why they are where they are. We saw what he's been doing since that over it, not just even in this series, but to Bucks. We saw what he's did to Bucks. He's the catalyst for that offense. Without him, that offense is stagnant. No offense to the rest of the players, but he's the Pacers really. And I go back and I'm thinking, wait, how did the Kings let this dude go? I literally I think this was 2 days ago. I literally had to Google what the Kings got back for this trade. And obviously Sabonis is an amazing player, but really like this is the potential of this dude. Like, come on now. And he's proven it in the playoffs time and time again. And overall, obviously, I just like Tyrese. He's a cool dude, obviously. But yeah, shout out to Tyrese and him being my number 3 or the best players, top 5 NBA players, players in the playoffs right now. So yeah.
Shout out. No, good shout out. Good positioning too. He's definitely that guy in a lot of ways. And it's exciting to see him again be that guy for the Pacers, a team that has had a very up and down 20 years. Moving on to number 2, I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson of the Knicks. Now, I'm sitting over here saying Jalen Brunson and the Knicks are losing to the Celtics. But of all the takes I've made today, that would be the one I'd be the most comfortable saying I might be wrong about. I can definitely see the Knicks winning because they have that momentum. I just think the Celtics are still right there in the series, but they've blown some games. And the Knicks, when the Knicks spell blood, specifically Brunson, he takes advantage of it. And so Brunson's my number 2. Shout out to Jalen Brunson. Shout out to the Knicks. I got to give them some love because they're playing exciting basketball, the best basketball they've played in 30 plus years, I would say. I mean, honestly, we're looking at a team that hasn't seen this much momentum since the 90s. So they've had some seasons with playoffs, but it's different, honestly. So yeah, that's my number 2. Who do you got for number 2, bro?
I believe we all have the number 2, and we probably have the same number 1, but Jalen Brunson is my number 2. Now, I don't like to look at moments and make my decisions off that or things like that. But we go back to the Detroit series where he stepped back and made that Thompson, is it Amen Thompson or Asa Thompson? Which one is in Detroit? Well, we all know the Thompson twins are defensively skilled, but he made him touch earth and he just took the game over. In that Detroit series, every game they won is because this guy took over. Jalen Brunson took over. And against the Celtics, again, the same thing, just taking over, coming in clutch. Obviously, we all know Mikel has been making the clutch defensive plays, but still, to cut the 20-point leads back-to-back games, they shouldn't even be 20-point lead, really, but that's a whole other story for another day. But the fact that he's been leading that charge, I still can't get over the fact that the Mavs let him go. But that's a whole another story for another day. So, but yeah, Jalen Brunson, just to add to that, again, that's play, just the highlight of it, really, just of how he made him touch earth and then sank it in. So yeah.
Agreed. And then number 1, SGA.
Mm-hmm.
How can you not have first
our MVP?
Yeah. Boom. That's the point I was going to make, is how could he not be, with him being the MVP, at least hopefully the MVP. I would say, again, I wouldn't call it robbed, but I would say it would be surprising if Joker did win it over SGA. And he's been putting up monster performances and leading the team, just picking it right back where he left off in the playoffs. So he's by far the best player, and that's continuing into the postseason. So SGA number 1.
Mm-hmm. And I have nothing to add. Like you watch the games, like even the game where they were off a bit, he still rallied. Like, again, they lost by what, 2-3. If Chet had made the free throws, completely different story. But we saw in 3 quarters, I believe he had 33, 34 in 3 quarters against Denver. Mm-hmm. He's the epitome of consistency right now. So and that's just what we can give him. Like he's and it's not just one-sided, it's not just offensively. He does it also on the defensive side of the ball too. He gets steals, he gets rebounds, he gets deflections, he gets sometimes maybe blocks, but he's just both sides of the ball. So how can you not have him as an MVP? You know what I mean? So shout out to SGA and League MVP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that takes us to the end of another show. We will be back with more playoff basketball. Obviously, the series could look completely different by the time we come back, David, but this is not the only place where we can find you for podcasts. Where else can our viewers find you when it comes to podcasting?
Yes, listen to Minor Football Fans podcast on all podcast platforms. We love you all so much. Thank you for chilling with us. The season is winding down. Few games left. We won't have any episodes in the next week. Our next episode will be 2 weeks from now, just because of things going on personally around me, and also I'm mourning the loss of my team right now. Again, after big losses, we have to take time and mourn. So that being said, we won't have any episode, but check out our previous episodes, and we'll be back in, I believe, 2 weeks, not next week, the week following that. So yeah, check us out, Mindful Health Podcast, wherever you get podcasts.
Definitely give them a listen or a watch. And I am on the College Football Junkie. We are not back yet. Obviously, spring ball is upon us and has already taken place for a lot of teams. Have already had their different weekends,
Mm-hmm.
But we will be.
I was at the Black-White game. Penn State's Black-White game. I was right there. If you.
Oh, you were there. When was it?
That was 26th of March. Sorry, 26th of April rather.
So it's a lot of those, and the Husker one was, I think, the same weekend or the week before. So it's all very close. Like I think most of that's wrapped up, but we'll still talk about it and talk about our predictions and our thoughts. So we'll be back within the next month. extending the time, but eventually it'll actually happen. So check it out, and it'll be plugged when it happens. But this takes us to the end of another show, and we will talk more basketball with you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching.